Good evening and welcome to the Golden Years of Hollywood. And I have a copy of The Man Who Came to Dinner, which is our first movie tonight, and it's a terrific movie. And the dedication reads, "To Alexander Woollcott for reasons that are nobody's business." Signed, the authors. That's George S. Kaufman and Moss Hart. Oh boy, what a dedication that is. I wonder why, and who was Alexander Woollcott? We'll get onto that subject in just a moment. Tonight is a night, again, with the accent on comedy. Thank you so much for your wonderful response to last week's great program, The Women, I Married a Witch and One Touch of Venus. Well, tonight, we may have gone one or two better. Perhaps you'll feel that way. Our second movie tonight is an adaptation of Helen McInnes's novel, Above Suspicion. The two leading characters were based on her and her husband. And the film, you might be surprised to learn, is as witty as it's suspenseful. A lot of people don't realise that, particularly the critics who write it always as a straight thriller. It's a very witty movie and I love it. Joan and Fred take on the Nazis, and along with that, they do a duet as well. I think you'll love it. And after Above Suspicion, for those members of the network who are still with us for a third movie, a delightful comedy, vintage 1937. Errol Flynn and Joan Blondell together in The Perfect Specimen, with the Australian-born actress May Robson, whom so many people adored in Daughters Courageous a few weeks ago. Well, now, back to the question of who is Alexander Woollcott. I'd like to show you a picture of Alexander Woollcott. This is he. Alexander Woollcott was a radio personality, he was a writer, he was a critic. If he loved a play, he'd tell New York and all of America, and the play would be a hit. If he disliked it, it'd likely be a flop. If he read a book and liked it, the book would be a bestseller. If he didn't, the book wouldn't have much chance of being a success at all. That's how powerful he was. He was a member of a great circle of writers, personalities, actors and so forth in the 30s and 40s. Very popular. And for him, George S. Kaufman and Moss Hart wrote the play. Actually, the basis of their writing the play, apart from doing a parody of him, was to write a play that he himself could play in. That's what he wanted, and that's what he got, because Alexander Woollcott did actually play the part. I believe on opening night, after he saw the play, it was an enormous success. He saw Monty Woolley being acclaimed as the great comedy star of the year. He said, "I loved tonight, except for one thing, I should have been playing the part." That's very Alexander Woollcott. Let's take a look at some of our participants in The Man Who Came to Dinner. Beginning, of course, with our three stars, Monty Woolley, Betty Davis, and Anne Sheridan. Now, this is rather an interesting thing. Betty Davis had just appeared in one of her greatest pictures ever, under the direction of William Wyler, The Little Foxes, for producer Samuel Goldwyn. She wasn't in a very good mood because she wanted John Barrymore to be the man who came to dinner, and wasn't particularly thrilled at the thought of appearing with Monty Woolley. Too bad. He was great, and incidentally, so was Betty. Here's the shot of them on the set of The Man Who Came to Dinner. This gives a lie to the notion that's been spread about in the books, and I think half the books we read about the stars are full of untruths, that they didn't get on well at all. I'm sure they got on very professionally and very well. They play together magnificently. But it's more than a Monty Woolley, Betty Davis movie. It is also an Anne Sheridan movie. And incidentally, I shouldn't at this stage leave out Betty's leading man. The leading man for Betty Davis in the film is not so much Monty Woolley, she plays his secretary, but Richard Travis. Richard Travis's career at Warner Brothers and elsewhere wasn't very exciting. He mainly played leads in the B pictures and supporting parts in the A's, such as The Man Who Came to Dinner. Now, from this to our third major star, Anne Sheridan. Anne Sheridan plays a character who is actually based on the famous Gertrude Lawrence. Oh, I can see Anne Sheridan playing the lead in Lady in the Dark, come to think of it. And there in the middle of this shot, we have Jimmy Durante. Jimmy Durante plays a character inspired by one of Woollcott's great friends, Harpo Marx. Oh, these people are wonderful in The Man Who Came to Dinner. Here's someone who's very exciting, and she's still great, Mary Wicks. Mary Wicks as the nurse. She even played this years later on television in America with, I think, Orson Welles playing the part of Sheridan Whiteside. But she is quite a scene stealer and gives Monty Woolley a run for his money. In our next shot from The Man Who Came to Dinner, Reginald Gardiner. You wouldn't have to be an authority on the theatre to realise the inspiration for Reginald Gardiner's character. Yes, he's based on Noel Coward. And finally, any mention of the people of The Man Who Came to Dinner without mentioning these two would be absolutely criminal. On the far left of the screen, Billy Burke. On the far right, Grant Mitchell. And next to Grant Mitchell, and between Grant and Richard Travis, Elizabeth Fraser, who was Phil Silver's girlfriend in The Bilko Show. Enough said. Get ready for some great laughter and great fun with The Man Who Came to Dinner. It's a wonderful movie.